Hey everyone, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Elon's Tweets of the Week.
On Now You Know.
And we're sponsored by our friends at Henson Shaving.
Henson is a sustainable shaving company. They make all of their razors up in Canada on machines that are really supposed to be making satellites and Mars rovers and specialized equipment. Basically, when they have downtime, when they're not making satellite stuff.
Okay, but I have a question. Why do you make shavers on a machine that should be making a satellite?
Well, satellites require precision, and so does your face. Your face deserves it. They make these shavers so that they hold the blades in a very particular way, very precisely, and that gets you the best shave every single time. I absolutely love mine. You can get yours with 100 free blades by using the code NOWYOUKNOW at hensonshaving.com.
All right, so let's get into it. A lot of tweets this week. Henry L. McNamara said, the number of times VC startup people have used the word humbled on Twitter when bragging in the past 5 years, 19 billion times. The number of times VC startup people have used the word humbled on Twitter since they've actually been humbled, 0. Elon tweeted this out, publishing factual, accurate news, does nothing to the brain, publishing articles that use clickbait and out-of-context quotes, pretty exciting, and publishing articles that are inaccurate, slanderous, and include at least one accusation of being a Nazi. That's super exciting to your brain.
Well, no, it's smart. It shows that that's the smart, it's a joke that smart people do that.
Gotcha.
That's what smart people do. But he's joking.
Right.
It's satire.
Elon tweeted that this Tim Urban tweet thread was a great thread, and so let's go through it. Some mantras for political thinking. Truth is hard. Humility is hard. Independent thinking is hard. Resisting tribalism is hard. Over and over, you will forget that these things are hard, and that's probably when you will fail at them. Bullies come in many forms. Stand up to bullies and don't be a bully. Political parties are big, lame corporations. They're not worthy of your identity. Angels and demons are a delusion. Everyone is flawed and everyone is complicated. Courage is criticizing your in-group. When you feel disgust for people based on their politics, it's a sign you're not in your right mind. When you let politics damage your relationships, it's a sign you're not in your right mind. You're probably in more of an information bubble than you realize. Most disagreements about what should be are actually disagreements about what is. Be suspicious of certainty. There is a strong correlation between those who feel 100% conviction about their political beliefs and those who could not pass a high school civics test. And lastly, when you and your friends fervently agree about every issue, it's a sign that tribal pheromones are in the air and everyone's gone a bit mad. What people say they stand for tells you nothing. Their behavior tells you everything. The same goes for your own behavior. And look this is one of the reasons why I actually like Elon's tweet threads. It's not always the things he tweets. It's the friend group he has and the people he responds to and the great tweet threads we get to find because he comments on them. And by the way, strongly recommend you go to Lex Friedman's podcast and look at the interview he did with Tim Urban. Fantastic podcast. So Elon tweeted out, the whole notion of being left-wing or right-wing is silly. Almost no one initially agrees with the semi-random collection of policies associated with each wing. They only support these policies after they join the left or right mind tribe. Slashdot tweeted out, U.S. Senator introduces bill to strip Disney of special copyright protections, and this is a bill that would cap copyrights to 56 years, as opposed to, get this, right now corporations can extend their copyrights to 120 years. Elon said, current copyright law in general goes absurdly far beyond protecting the original creator. Overzealous DMCA is a plague on humanity, and the DMCA is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 2000, which basically extended copyrights even further than they had been before. Shibatoshi Nakamoto said, the reason I like Dogecoin is because I know it's stupid.
Elon says it has potential as a currency.
Shibatoshi went on to say, I enjoy that something stupid could also have utility and be successful. He went on to say, cryptocurrency was created as a statement against central bank control right after the 2006 recession caused by predatory lending practices and other irresponsible nonsense, leading to the housing bubble bursting, rampant printing of money, bailouts, etc.
Elon responded, he said, the axiomatic error was that housing prices only go up. I don't support predatory lending, but many of those lenders were severely wounded or didn't survive. They dug their own graves, a lesson we should all take to heart, including me. Including me. What does that mean?
Means that he's self-evaluative, which is really smart, I think. Mays said, only trustworthy people like Nina Jankowicz should be verified on Twitter and able to add context to other people's tweets.
And Elon said, disconcerting.
So what I think Elon is saying here is, how do you decide who should be able to comment on other people's tweets if you're only a blue checkmark person or not? And I think that's the problem he's getting into here with Twitter, is who's going to make these decisions about who's trustworthy. All right, let's talk about Twitter, because we're on Twitter. Elon said, Twitter deal temporarily on hold, pending details supporting calculation that spam and fake accounts do indeed represent less than 5% of users. To find out, my team will do a random sample of 100 followers of Twitter. I invite others to repeat the same process and see what they discover.
Okay.
So, couple things. The 100 followers, he got kind of in trouble because Twitter's legal team said, you just gave out something from the NDA that you signed, which is that's our sample size. And to that I say, who cares what your sample size was?
Right. And yeah, he commented a bit on that. We're not going to go through all those tweets there. But so basically, let's just read between lines here, saying that he's maybe considering not buying Twitter because he doesn't believe that, according to Twitter, they say that less than 5% of users are fake or spam accounts.
Right.
He thinks that it's higher than 5%.
According to some videos I saw this week, he thinks it could be as high as 20 to 40%.
Which is definitely a lot higher. And I think that, we can look at this in a number of different ways. But let's go read through a few more tweets and we can talk about it.
Tesla owners Silicon Valley said, how are you defining random? How will you select them?
Elon said, ignoring first 1,000 followers, then pick every 10th. I'm open to better ideas.
And so basically, that's who you pick to see if they're real. And then my question is, so he has a team. I don't know if there's some kind of special internet investigators, but how do you find out, who K1X213 is in real life? Like, how do you find if they're a real person?
It's their tweeting habits. So, if they're just constantly being like, to click on this bit.ly link to get access to crypto money,
then that's a
fake
spam
scam,
account.
Then that's a spam account. If they're like, I went on a walk with my dog today, you're like, oh, that's probably a real person.
Okay.
Or if they're talking about something that they're interested in.
Well, yeah, as Pranay says, Elon, can you elaborate a bit on the process so that we as Twitter can help you in finding out the real percentage of scam and spam and bot accounts?
Elon said, any sensible random sampling process is fine. If many people independently get similar results for percentage of fake, spam, or duplicate accounts, that will be telling. I picked 100 as the sample size number because that is what Twitter uses to calculate the less than 5% spam/fake/duplicate account.
Can I just say, if that's what Twitter's doing, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because they have 200 and something million active users, they say. If you're only choosing 100 as your sample size, first of all, why not choose 1,000 or 10,000 or a million? Because 100, like, you could be way off.
100 does seem a little bit small in terms of this population. I'm not a statistician. I encourage anyone who is to comment down below. I know that you're already typing, but...
Elon said, chronological tweets seem much better than what the algorithm suggests. Tap on the stars in the upper right of the screen to revert to chronological. And I didn't even know that this was a thing, so I'm glad he pointed it out, that basically you can either get chronological tweets or you can get what the algorithm wants to feed you. And I did try it, and you do get completely different results.
Sure. And so Elon went on. He said, very important to fix your Twitter feed. Tap the home button, tap the stars in the upper right-hand corner. And so he's saying it again. He said, you are being manipulated by the algorithm in ways you don't realize. Easy to switch back and forth and see the difference.
He said, I'm not suggesting malice in the algorithm, but rather that it's trying to guess what you might want to read, and in doing so, inadvertently manipulate or amplify your viewpoints without you realizing this is happening. Not to mention potential bugs in the code. Open source is the way to go to solve both trust and efficacy. And Tesla owner Silicon Valley said, you are right, it's guessing what you want to see, but you will only see your following under chronological. I noticed you are only interacting with who you are following now. Hope you go back and forth.
Elon says, no, I interact with interesting comments that I see too, even if made by people I don't follow. I don't use Twitter because I freaking hate it. And maybe I hate it because of all the reasons that Elon thinks that I'd hate it. I mostly can't find tweets. Like, when I hear that somebody has tweeted something, if they don't have the link in the thing that I'm reading or the person told me, I can't find the tweet. It's really hard.
This is a really annoying part about Twitter, is that I have to use Google to find tweets. So that means that Google is now the de facto Twitter.
And it's only about 70% of the time that I can actually find the tweet. A lot of the times I'm just like, I haven't been able to find it. I mean, this is why we do this show. Is because otherwise people are just going to say, oh, he tweeted this, he tweeted that. And I won't know for sure because we wouldn't have actually read them. It's
and in context.
It's still hard for us to read all the tweets because we have to go to third parties where they've been collecting the tweets and they have all the links. It's so stupid. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Twitter. It's only one of the reasons, though.
Nilay Patel says, Elon, wait until you try TikTok. That'll really bake your noodle.
Elon says, tried TikTok, but it's not winding my clock.
I love his responses.
Yeah.
So then Parag Agrawal, who's the CEO of Twitter, said this whole long 9-threaded thing, said, let's talk about spam and let's do so with the benefit of data, facts, and context. And Elon said, have you tried just calling them?
And who is he talking about?
Well, he's talking about all of these potentially fake accounts or real accounts. Like if you see Jesse as a Twitter user, have you tried reaching out and saying, hey, Jesse, are you a real person? And I guess the fact that Parag had to tweet 9 posts to get his point across is one of my problems with Twitter in the first place, which is, yes, you've limited it to 240 characters or whatever it is, 280 characters, but like you can't even get your point across because humans need usually more than a few sentences to get an interesting point across. So on the end of this, Parag said, unfortunately, we don't believe that this specific estimation can be performed externally, given the critical need to use both public and private information, which we can't share. Externally, it's not even possible to know which accounts are counted as MDAWs on any given day. Elon says, so how do advertisers know what they're getting for their money? This is fundamental to the financial health of Twitter. And so, yeah, so Twitter's saying, like, we can't share this information, so we can't really do it.
By the way, the MDAWs thing is daily active users, is like, you know, how do you judge a platform? You know, yeah, I've had a Facebook account for, you know, since I was 13 or whatever, but I haven't been on it in like 4 or 5 years.
I think this Dilbert cartoon actually sums it up well. Shibatoshi said they get that coveted "Trust Me, Bro" slide deck. And Prestige says this all feels like Dilbert Daily Comic, where here's the financial projection you asked me to do. It's basically just guessing plus math. Obviously, it's useless for making decisions because I can get any result I want by tweaking the assumptions.
And then the boss says, don't say any of that stuff when you present it to the board tomorrow. So
and Elon laughed because exactly. It's just all bull.
Right. If Twitter can say like, oh, you don't have the information, we can't share the information because it's private.
Right.
So you're going to have to trust us that we know that it's 5% of, that is less than 5% of all daily active users are spam accounts.
Paul Griffith says, watching Elon beam into the All-In Summit discussing if Twitter users are 5% or 50% bots and advocating for open sourcing the algorithm, I'm a moderate. It's not a right-wing takeover. It's a moderate takeover. And Elon said, this transcription isn't precise, but gets the gist of it. Then Teslarati said, Elon may be looking for a better Twitter deal as 44 billion seems too high with 20% of the users being fake or spam accounts.
Elon says 20% fake/spam accounts, while 4 times what Twitter claims could be much higher. My offer was based on Twitter's SEC filings being accurate. Yesterday, Twitter's CEO publicly refused to show proof of less than 5%. This deal cannot move forward until he does. So this, I think, is Elon's chess move here. He's kind of backed Twitter into a corner. It's smart negotiation. It's also smart from the perspective of him changing his tune about Twitter.
So you think he's changing his tune?
A little bit.
Why?
A little bit. I think that, so when he went into Twitter, first of all, we were coming right off of his SEC thing. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing where the SEC basically requires that he has someone check all of his tweets before he sends them out, so that way they don't,
which is definitely not happening.
Right. It definitely doesn't seem like anyone's checking his tweets before they go out. Maybe I don't think that anyway. We don't know. But we do know that basically the SEC has been making his life very difficult, and that he argues that it's a violation of his free speech. He's been on a real free speech stint for a while. Now it feels like he's completely changed his tune because it has not been too successful or popular with most people. I think that there's just a lot of disagreement when you start talking about free speech and you start talking about Twitter. We've noticed it here on the show because the comment section is an absolute war zone and not fun. Not fun for me. But anyway, now he is completely, I would say, switched over to focusing on a different elephant in the room when it comes to Twitter, and that is the fake and spam accounts. And it's a really great way for him to squeeze the Twitter board for a better price. While at the same time pivoting away from the whole conversation about free speech, which he seems to have backed down on and changed his mind. It seems like he has, you go in with a certain idea of like, well, anyone should be able to say whatever they want. And then there are nuanced situations that people can bring up to you. And then you're like, well, yeah, I would stop that. And they're like, but then how do you tell the difference between this and that? And you go, crap, I can see why this is difficult. But you can still reduce the amount of algorithm that is, and by that, I mean AI that is picking and choosing what you get to see and could be driving you down a particular way you think because that's what you pick up on. And then also he's able to, like we're talking about now, talking about all these fake and spam accounts.
History Defined says, where did the term snake oil salesman come from?
And then Elon responded to this. He said, tragically, it wasn't even oil from a snake.
Yashu said, the Elon Musk phenomenon, take anything, and I mean anything whatsoever, related to Elon and Tesla in any way possible, generate 5 to 10 times more impressions and clicks for your advertisement. This tweet is ironically proof of that. And it shows basically a Walmart ad. And Elon said, I hope it's a good product. Eventually said, honestly, are you okay with your name attached to everything like this? Seems sus.
Elon says, don't have much choice, provided they don't explicitly say that I endorse something. There is no legal recourse.
I mean, I think that's kind of been throughout history, right? That you can imply things as long as you don't say, like, Elon endorses our product.
Right. Right. And they're saying, like, they're talking to Elon. He has a baby, so they're just trying to get his attention.
Joko Widodo, who's the president of Indonesia, said this, and Elon said it was an honor to meet at Starbase and discuss exciting future projects. And yeah, I think they're talking about doing some mining and stuff like that, but who knows what they're talking about. I think it's nickel. Elena Goodman says, what I found when I went to visit the small nonprofit activist group that's been attacking Elon, turns out it doesn't actually exist.
And then Elon says, I wonder who funds them. So this is like another ingredient in the soup that is trying to talk about Elon Musk in the world, is that you do have stuff like this where it's like, oh, well, that's really fishy, but that's all the information there is about it. Like, right. I'm sure if we knew everything about this, we would go, oh, wow, that would make a whole lot of sense as to why all of this other stuff happened. But this is like a little dead end where we go, really? Like, you know when like you're driving around and then you come to, I do a lot of exploring. You drive down a road and it has like a gate and you're like, what's down that gate? And they're like, oh, who knows? And it's probably just some access to some piece of infrastructure, but you never know.
Never know until you open the gate.
Batcave.
Could be the Batcave. Slashdot says Apple patches dozens of security flaws with iOS 15.5, over 50 fixes for Mac OS 12.4.
And Elon responded with an exclamation point.
And Jaroslaw said, Falcon, always nice to see that photo. And that's Elon staring at one of the exploded Falcons early on. He said, just a scratch, really. Shibatoshi says, nothing that a little duct tape and super glue can't fix.
And then Elon posted the 100.
John Rich said, I have to think Elon knew that this was the case before he moved on Twitter. Again, we're back to Twitter. Mm-hmm. If Twitter lied about how many actual users they have to the SEC, we're looking at a company that has perpetuated fraud on its shareholders and advertisers. Big trouble for the Twitter commies.
And Elon said, absolutely.
So this goes to your point, which is that Elon may be pushing them really into a corner, and maybe he just wants to blow it up. Like maybe he just wants the Twitter board and the executive team to get in trouble.
This is where I have a question. There's this $1 billion thing where if either one of them backs out of the deal, they have to pay the other party $1 billion.
Oh, also, there's going to be lawsuits for years.
So let's say that it can be proven in a court of law that more than 5% of Twitter's daily active users are fake / spam.
And that Twitter knew that.
And that Twitter knew that. I don't know. Was that important, do you think?
Well, that's important for
he
fraud.
Probably. So I think if you read between the lines, and let's bring Jack Dorsey into this mix. Jack Dorsey founded Twitter, and then he left Twitter, and nobody knows really why. He definitely wasn't agreeing with what was going on, but could he have some info that would suggest
he's friends of Elon's? Mm-hmm. I feel like Elon knows a lot about the company because here you have the founder who's your buddy, and he's telling you stuff.
And so if he goes, yeah, like, dude, it's crazy. I don't know how Twitter's going to keep going because, more than X number percentage of daily active users are fake and spam bots. And that's not good just on a company perspective, but it won't be good when the advertisers find out, right. Because that can be decided outside of court of law. Mm-hmm. And so by Elon doing this, he's diminishing the value of the company, which means that he could buy it for less if he wanted to do that. But maybe the whole point of this was to like
blow it up,
and that the Twitter board, the actual people who are on the board of Twitter, either don't care or were in some way
Complicit.
bad and complicit to this.
Well, to your point, check this out. Doge designer said Elon Musk's epic reaction to Twitter claiming that the number of real unique humans that you see making comments on a daily basis is above 95%. Check this video out.
Said another way, the number of real unique humans that you see making comments on a daily basis on Twitter is above 95%. That is what they're claiming. Does anyone have that experience?
I mean,
really? Listen, there's a bridge I'd like to sell you. There you go. and also you can buy the Brooklyn Bridge.
And Elon said the audience laughter says it all. And I mean, I think he made a really strong point, and I think everyone connected with it because they're like, yeah, there's no way 95% of the people are real on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know if most of the people in the audience are on Twitter because I'm not on Twitter, so it's hard for me to be like, I mean, I see a lot of spam, but maybe that's just because they comment a lot. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the time to do a sampling, but I think it's got to be around 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
This is a big tweet, everybody. Tesla AI Day #2 on August 19th. So many cool updates. So let's just stop there for a second. AI Day. You're probably like, what was AI Day again? Remember on AI Day, what did we get to hear about? Not only did we get to hear about the hardware, the FSD, but we also got to see a little thing called
TeslaBot.
TeslaBot.
Right.
So Dave Lee said, wow, can't wait. Will you show a sneak preview of TeslaBot?
Elon said yes. So sneak preview could be anything from a picture of a CGI rendering to a little robot Tesla bot that could come out.
My birthday's in August, so you don't have to get me anything, anybody, because this is going to be my birthday present.
Okay.
I get to see AI Day #2. I am so excited. I mean, look, I am so, if you watch the show, you know I'm so pumped about TeslaBot and FSD. So, I mean, this is just super exciting for me.
It's really exciting.
And this is so close to the last AI Day. That means they made some serious progress, I think.
Oh, definitely.
We're going to get to see TeslaBot.
I know.
Tesla Boomer Mama said, update Q1 2022 data. Escalating absurdity of financial strength of Tesla compared to credit ratings of Moody and S&P. Tesla is now in the league of Alphabet, yet still junk rated. How much longer will this continue? SEC proposal may end it. See the comment.
So we're talking about like debt ratings.
Yeah, so if you don't know, if you're a corporation and or even a municipality and you want to issue some bonds so that people know how to rate those bonds and how, what the chances are you'll pay them back. These rating agencies like Moody's and S&P, they go in there and say like, okay, Jesse, you seem like a very good municipality or company, so we're going to give you this rating of AAA, let's say, if we think you're really going to pay it back. Oh, and you, Tesla, you're going to get BA1 or BB plus, which sounds great, right? A B on a test, but that's one of the lowest ratings. So that means that you have to pay much higher interest on those bonds.
Which means that you can't raise as much money as easily.
It costs you more money to raise money.
It just means that
right?
getting any kind of debt really is harder for you to do as a company.
And so you might be asking, like, why is Tesla still in the junk status when they are worth $1 trillion?
Right. Elon responded to this tweet. He says, Tesla doesn't need debt, so the rating doesn't impact us. But it is silly.
So, I mean, imagine if they did need it, though. Let's say Tesla couldn't get money in the public markets. They needed to go out and do bonding, which they did early on. This would mean that they'd have to pay so much more for it. It would be unfair to Tesla. And you might be wondering, like, well, if you're such a good rating agency, why would you still rate Tesla so low? Is it a conspiracy? I mean, because I looked it up. I mean, Toyota gets A1 and A+. They barely make any EVs.
Is it? Like, I mean, so is this like credit score? Is this similar? Okay. So, I mean, is it just like length of debt? They want you to be...
No, this is very, this is just a bunch of people in a company making a decision. Look, if you look at Tesla's financials, they've got, $17 billion in cash? So if they go out and raise $1 billion in bonds, they've got cash to back it up. Like, why would you give them such a low rating?
I don't know.
All right, Elon tweeted out, bullshit baffles brains, even applied to yourself. What is he talking about?
I mean, I guess it's true when you hear enough.
But like even applied to yourself. So like you're bullshitting yourself sometimes when you're like lying to yourself.
Yeah.
These are kind of the deep tweets I like about Elon.
Look, I know that I'm wishing for a completely unrealistic thing. I wish that Elon had more time when he could tweet something out like this. It's kind of like when you take a file, and you compress it, you put it in and we as humans don't have compression algorithms.
We don't.
We can't compress and losslessly compress and decompress information.
That's coming, by the way, with Neuralink, I think.
It very well could be. So I'm looking forward to the day when Elon can
decompress his tweets.
In Harry Potter, where they have the thing and they pull the memories out of your head. Harry Potter fans, thank you. I appreciate that in the comments. Like that. Where
So you want an example so he can be like, and this is what I mean.
Whole thought. I know that he had 2 seconds, and he was like, I just thought of this, and he at 3:15 a.m. That's our time, so it's midnight, and I'm sure he's just gotten out of some meeting, or he was just talking to somebody, and he just But he has a whole complete thought in there. It's just his thumbs are what's slowing him down.
I think it probably still had something to do with Twitter.
True.
Is my guess. And the reason I think it had to do with Twitter is the next tweet from Gary Black was about half of Joe Biden's Twitter followers are fake, audit reveals. And Elon said, interesting. You want to say, so, checks calculator. That would be like 10 times more than 5%. Or 14 times higher than Twitter's 5% in my case.
Elon went on to say Biden's mistake is that he thinks he was elected to transform the country, but actually everyone just wanted less drama. Even though I think a less divisive candidate would be better in 2024, I still think Trump should be restored to Twitter.
So,
political thing there, what he's saying, but if you pick up on what he's saying, he's going to that kind of free speech fundamentalism thing, saying that I don't think that we should block someone from being on a platform. You may have your own thoughts on that for sure. But he's saying I don't support him as a candidate. It's the
on the All In podcast last week, he said that he doesn't think he's ever voted for a Republican. He thinks he's only voted for Democrats. It's kind of surprising.
Which is interesting because he's a lot of what the railing that he's done about politicians has been against mostly Democrat. I mean,
a lot of Democrats came out and bashed him. I mean, right. Bernie, Robert Reich,
and I think that he was defending
Elizabeth Warren.
Himself. But it's a thing where if you defend yourself against attacks from particular people, then people see you at odds with those people, right. And they go, "But I like those people for some other reason, probably than what their beef is with you in particular. So I'm going to back up the person that I like the most, regardless of what it is you're fighting about." It's human nature. Comes back to the Tim Urban thing about tribalism.
Right. Elon said, don't diss information. Oh, he's so wordy and punny.
Oh, so wordy.
He's going to give him punnier later.
Okay.
Let's go back to Twitter. Whoever thought owning the libs would be cheap never tried to acquire a social media company. At least that's what the lib hive mind thinks. Haha. And again, we're going to the tribalism thing here where he's attacking the liberals. Probably not a good idea to attack any one group because then you're just going to...
Isn't that
It's like poking the nest.
When he did the thing with Tim Urban and he said, this is, I like this.
Right.
And it was like, don't fall into tribalism.
And now
isn't saying, hey, you tribe.
Right.
Isn't that tribalism?
Yeah, I know.
don't know.
To find out, my team will do a random sample of 100 followers of Twitter. I invite others to repeat the same process and see what they discover. Still committed to acquisition. So he seems to be sending different signals, right? I'm not interested. I am interested. Very interesting. And then he said, Twitter claims that over 95% of daily active users are real, unique humans. Does anyone have that experience? And he put out this poll. The answers seem to be...
You're either laughing at the question itself or you are a robot.
And he said
not really a poll.
No, it's a funny poll. And then Elon said the bots are angry at being counted. And then to the puns. Iconic, laconic, platonic. What the hell is he talking about?
Is he
rapping?
Is it laconic or is it iconic?
Oh, I see. Is that an I?
Is that an I?
Or is that an L?
Or is that an L?
I don't know.
Is that a lowercase L or an uppercase I?
I don't know.
There is a way to tell. I don't know how to do it.
Oh, how do you tell? Is it hex code?
I don't know how. Yes.
What's wrong with English?
You could copy and paste it into Microsoft Word, select it, then put it in Wingdings, and then you
please
could know
someone do that down below. And please someone explain it to me because I don't understand this one. Then he tweeted out this painting. I think it's like Louis the 14th or something. Borderline too sexy. Great shoes. Incredible art.
And then this is the part where my brain goes ring, and I don't know what the he's talking about. Is this Is this a statement that he's making? Is it just that he saw the picture, wanted to comment on?
Right.
Because, I mean, there's definitely, I feel like you could have a whole college course where you talk about this one tweet thread and you go and you see, and my thesis is therefore Elon thinks this, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Same thing with these two tweets. The Golden State is cooking its golden geese, so tasty at first, but then no more golden eggs.
Okay, well, this one I can at least grapple on.
Sure. I mean, this is talking about what you're doing to your corporations, right? This is one of the first years that California lost population and lost companies. They're all moving out in droves. So I think he's talking about how the government of the state is cooking its golden geese, basically really passing too much regulation on their corporations and people. And he's saying so tasty at first, meaning you get more like tax revenue, but then eventually all the eggs are gone.
Because it's going to not the golden eggs. Whoa. Hang on. You got to remember the fable.
What's the fable?
The fable is a guy, I think it's a Grimm's fairy tale. So it's some guy in, a shack somewhere with his family. And he like finds this goose and it lays golden eggs. And he's like, oh, great.
This is awesome.
Like, this is awesome. I get golden eggs every day. One golden egg.
What was the bad part? What happened?
So then he gets greedy.
Okay.
And he goes, oh, well, if what is so special about this goose, if the eggs are coming out, there must be something in this goose. I'm going to kill the goose. He opens up the goose because that's what they do in the Grimm's fairy tales.
Right.
They
cut everything open.
If there isn't a story where somebody is inside somebody else, it's not a Grimm's fairy tale.
Gotcha.
So anyway, they cut the geese open and it's just a goose, but now the goose is dead. It can't lay any more golden eggs. So that's the
So
full
basically,
context.
so the idea is, nurture these companies and they'll give you more than if you try and break them up and regulate them.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Is it regulation or is it you're overtaxing them?
Regulation taxing.
Yeah, sure.
Elon tweeted out the lawyers who ate California. So this is an article, and it's an interesting tale of overregulation, according to this journalist, Matt Taibbi, about what happened to Activision. And so I don't know if I agree with it or not, but go ahead and read it if you want. This message brought to you by the Illuminati. Another
wordplay.
pun. Nice, Elon. Very nice. Then stop the war on straws. And he tweeted this out, not me latching on to my cold brew. How did it even start? The straw war is emblematic of larger social issues. So, I mean, let's just go back a little bit. Straws kind of represent plastic that gets thrown into the ocean. They get stuck in the noses of sea turtles.
It's single-use plastic.
Right.
And so people hate single-use plastic. So what's the easiest single-use plastic that is probably the least necessary? And people go, oh, it's plastic straws. And so they go, ban plastic straws because it's so obvious. And then they don't take into consideration, people who can't just like drink they can't hold stuff. And so then
Or
it's
driving
like,
in cars.
It's harder for people. And then we get into the issue of does it actually make a difference?
Let's look at this, though. I mean, this particular coffee is in a plastic cup with a plastic top. So isn't it more plastic?
I can tell you that there's more plastic in the top than it would be if it was I don't know if it's exactly the same as the straw, but it's so similar. What the heck are we even doing?
Right.
That now we have to, instead of just giving you a cup, well, because it doesn't have a cover, because you can't have the straw, well, then now we're making a sippy cup lid, which is going to use probably about as much plastic as the straw. And so he's saying that people like to latch on to certain things. And then they don't fully understand it, and they don't, and then it just creates such a backlash from the people who have any slightly differing opinion of that, or the people who are just like caught up in the middle of it and they're like, why is my straw made out of paper now? And I hate this, and I hate everyone who likes, it's a fair point.
Elon tweeted out the updated Starlink map, and pretty cool. Look how much of the world is covered.
Yeah.
And we're still in early days. There's only 2,000 satellites. So wait till we get to more. A friend of mine the other day mentioned that they saw what looked like UFOs in the sky in Wyoming. And I was like, was it a bunch of dots like this? And like, yes. And like, Starlink. Or you're being invaded.
You never know.
You never know. But chances are good that it's Starlink and not aliens.
Because they're launching all the time.
But don't sue us if aliens come down and probe you. Like, could be that. I don't know. Anyway, I found this week's tweets, again, very eye-opening. I now feel like I know what's going on with Elon better. And again, the reason we do the show, a lot of you are wondering what's going to happen with Tesla and SpaceX. If you know what the leader of these companies is thinking and doing, you're maybe one step ahead.
Right. Yeah, I thought that it's interesting the tack that he's now taken on Twitter.
I hope he backs off. I do.
I mean, if he basically gets in there, causes an SEC investigation, the problem is the SEC is not this agency that's going to take care of business.
No.
You know what I mean? They're going to come in and go, don't do that.
You got a little fine.
You lied. You lied about half your user base.
Exactly.
And Twitter. That's all they're going to do.
Yep. That's true.
I mean,
but it does. If he is interested in buying it, it does help him lower the price.
It would. It could significantly reduce the amount of shares or the amount of the price per share that he would have to buy everyone out at.
Right.
Which
Wink,
means
wink.
that he
Tesla
could
stock. Okay.
basically do it without having to sell more Tesla shares.
Right.
And I think he has a pretty good argument, especially if he can prove it, because whether or not Twitter knew. Doesn't matter if half
this show is kind of like one of those boards on the wall when you're trying to figure out who murdered someone, and you put up pictures and scene of the crime, and then you have lines that go from one to the other. This is kind of what we do, and we're just adding more pictures every week and more string, and we're getting more into the thick of it. Sometimes we figure things out, and sometimes we're completely led astray.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun, and I'm glad that we just have Tesla Time News and In Depth where we don't have to do that, because this, to me, is exhausting. Let me know if you think it's exhausting in the comments below. Hit the like button. We really would appreciate it, because this does, it takes a lot of research. You might be like, but he just tweets. Every tweet is like, what is he talking about? Yeah. There's no context. Now I have to Google 18 different things. So we're trying to bring you as much context in each of these tweets as possible in each of these shows. So we really appreciate it. We hope that if I can save you time by you not having to do that work and you not having to figure out how you're going to find all of Elon's tweets.
If you're saying, how's this save me time? Well, don't forget, this is also a podcast. So you can head on over to Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. We are there. And so you can listen to this in the car, on your jog, whatever, so that you can, catch up on the tweets without having to read them.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you next time.
Now you know.